1. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the briefing for jurors and teams of the 8th International Young Naturalist Tournament 2020. If you are hearing this recording and watching this video, that means that I had some major technical issues on Friday, October 13th, and that means that other organizers are displaying a pre-recorded briefing. I hope that I will be able to connect back to you as soon as only possible, but right now you can enjoy this pre-recorded video of my presentation. We will try to discuss several important topics related to the IYNT and in particular this online IYNT. These topics are as follows. What are the science fights? What do we expect from report, opposition and review in the science fights? What are penalty points? What are yellow cards? Jurors' questions and requirements for the jurors, including the grading criteria. Our requirements for jury chairpersons and what they do in the IYNT. What are captain's contests? The role of fight attendants, and the information about the upload of solutions. So let's start. In a regular science fight, we have 2 or 3 teams competing. During this IYNT, the number of teams is 14, which is not a multiple of 3. Therefore, we will have 4 groups of 3 teams and 1 group of 2 teams. This is something unexpected for many of you because during the last 3 years, the number of teams was always a multiple of 3. But now you will enjoy such an experience, some of you, some of the teams, reminding that in a 2-team science fight, 1 team is reporting and the second team divides itself into 2 groups, one acting as opponent and one acting as reviewer. This happens in the beginning of stage before challenge, and the team captain decides. Obviously, here in Discord, all team members from all subgroups of one team will remain in the same voice channel, but somehow they will interact independently and will obtain different grades from the jurors, separate grades for the opposition and separate grades for the review. You may ask, how is that possible that one team is reviewing the opposition made by the same team? This is a special feature of the IYNT, and we deliberately place our participant teams in a situation of conflict of interests. This happens in real life when you need to review the work of your close colleague, of your immediate collaborator, and obviously you need to maintain your scientific integrity, and you need to be objective, you need to be critical, but at the same time you need to be friendly and supportive because this is your immediate colleague. In this situation, what is required from any scientist and from any person in such a situation is to be friendly, supportive, but critical and objective. And in the IYNT, the teams will have such an experience. In a real science fight group, we have a lot of people sitting physically in one room, but obviously in this online IYNT, everything will happen in voice channels in Discord, and slides will be presented by screen sharing. Everyone will be able to talk, and in some cases, when it's convenient and when the number of people in one group is not too high, we will be even able to open webcams and have video streams. The jurors will be also sitting in the voice channels in Discord, and they will be observing all performances and then giving grades. Here is the outline of the whole IYNT. We will have 4 consecutive selective fights, semifinals in 3 groups, and then the final fight. I am reminding everyone that team distribution or team brackets across the groups is already known based on the numbers that we were drawing at the ceremony of drawing lots today on Friday. But at Science Fight 4, the brackets, or who is competing with whom, is not known yet. And these brackets will depend on the results after Science Fight 3. In the first fight, we discussed problems 1 through 6. I'm reminding 1 through 6. In the second fight, problems 7 through 12. In the third fight, problems 13 through 17. In Science Fight 4, we have new problems that no one knows yet. And finally, in the semifinals and the final fight, there is no challenge procedure, and the teams select the problems that they would like to present. Any problems, numbers 1 through 17. The order of performances for fights 1, 2, and 3 is determined by the lot, and the order of performances in the 3 final and concluding fights, which are Science Fight 4, semifinals, and final, will be determined by the winner of Captain's Contest. We will have a short contest in the beginning of each fight in each group. The winner, the captain of the winning team, will decide who is reporting first, who is opposing first, and who is reviewing first. Okay, report. Obviously, the report is something the most exciting in the IYNT, because many teams have spent weeks and months on working on exciting science projects. Here you can see our experienced juror and jury chairperson and host, Georgi Homeriki from Georgia. But on this picture, Georgi is still team captain at the IYNT 2014, 6 years ago, when he's making an exciting demonstration about the maximum length of a vertical straw such that one can still drink water or other drinks through the straw. This is an example of IYNT problem where different sciences are blended and merged: physics, chemistry, biology, physiology, and so on. We expect interesting scientific solutions where teams present their findings and their results. We have 3 types of problems in the IYNT: main problems, known in advance; problems invent yourself with the original statements by the teams. You can already check the problem statements on the webpage. The PDF file is available for download. And finally, in the Fight 4, we have new problems, which are experimental, and which the teams will be solving during only 45 minutes of preparation time. Obviously, this will be an exciting experience, and in Science Fight 4, we need to draw attention to resourcefulness and cooperation of team members, which need to work in a very short time and with very limited resources. What do we expect from the reporter? We expect that the reporter applies scientific methods to deliver a reasonable solution. The reporter introduces and determines parameters. The reporter collects quantitative data using reasonable techniques. The reporter develops theories and applies reasonable mathematics. The reporter links experiment to theory. They cite sources of any ideas, data, or theories that are not of own work. The reporter is conversant with the scientific context. The reporter explains all findings convincingly. They draw conclusions. They explain clearly what are goals and priorities of their work, and they can defend the solution and answer questions from other teams and from the jury. Basically, these are our expectations. Something funny about the conclusions is that obviously, if the report has very poorly formulated conclusions, where basically the conclusions are not related to the results of the presented work and are not looking very convincingly, then probably this is a drawback of the report. But this was just an example. Okay, opposition. We expect that the opponent is critical, and we expect that they try to reveal the shortcomings and drawbacks of the report, but also highlight the strong sides of the report. This picture here is obviously a joke. We expect from the opponent that they do not present their own solution. Instead, they react to the report and they focus on the report. They challenge the reporter's results, understanding, and conclusions. They question whether claims are supported by research and have reproducibility. They are conversant with the scientific context. They ask relevant, non-trivial questions, and they understand the answers. They agree or disagree with the reporter, and they have judgments. They lead the discussion. They facilitate the discussion, and they are polite. They outline strong sides and achievements of the report. They outline shortcomings and mistakes of the report. They explain their opinions convincingly, and they also draw clear and specific conclusions which are related to their opinion about the report. So this is what we expect from the opponent. This is an example of an opposition from the IYPT 2018, when the report was not particularly good. And as we can see, the opponent was highlighting various negative points about the report and explaining why, in their opinion, the report was not particularly good. Here you can see another example when the opponent highlights good points and weaker points about the report, in one example from the first IYNT 2013. Once again, we expect that the opponent focuses on the report and gives opinions about the report. The review. The reviewer is not like a second opponent. They are like a little jury, and they are third party in the fight. They do not take part in the challenge procedure. They cannot select the problem that they need to review, but they come to the discussion and they give their third party, impartial, neutral assessment of the report and the opposition. So what do we expect from the reviewer? We expect that they are not a second opponent. They're a little jury, as already said. They do not discuss anything with the other two teams, and they only ask smart, clarifying questions. They analyze the report. They analyze the opposition. They bring in an analysis and own expertise to make judgments. These judgments are weighted and independent. They are conversant with the scientific context as well. They explain the conclusions and opinions convincingly. They outline all strong sides and all shortcomings of all other teams. They deliver objective and critical scientific summary of the stage, and they can draw a line under the debates on the whole stage. So their performance is the final performance on the stage. Here you can see an example of slides of one reviewer. And as you can see, the points that the reviewer is bringing are not really good points because they are very general. They are not about science. They're not about contents of the report and opposition. They're basically about quality of the discussion. The discussion was peaceful and they were reading from PowerPoint. So probably this review is not particularly strong. And here you can see an example of a much better review where the specific scientific aspects of the report and oppositions are discussed. Okay, yellow cards and penalty points. We have various limitations in the IYNT related to the number of times a team can send one specific person to the stage and the number of times that a team can reject a challenge. We have three important yellow cards in the IYNT, and let me explain what they are. NR is the yellow card that your team would receive if you reject more than 3 challenges in the whole IYNT. So irrespectively of the fight in which these challenges are made, fight 1, fight 2, 3 or 4, if the total number of rejections is more than 3, you will get a yellow card. If one person takes the floor more than once in one science fight, which means, for example, you are opponent and then you, the same person, want to present as reporter, or opponent and reviewer, or reporter and reviewer, any two combinations. Then your team gets an NP type yellow card. And finally, if one person acts as reporter more than once, for example, today and tomorrow, as opponent more than once, or as reviewer more than once in the whole tournament except for the finals, then your team will get an anti-type yellow card. And I'm reminding you that one yellow card means that the number of points, the SP, in the fight is reduced by 10%. In the picture, in the photo here on the slide, you can see one team at one of the previous IYNTs. This team was obtaining a lot of yellow cards, but as you see, they're smiling, they're happy, and they're not complaining too much, and they're not disappointed too much. This is something that I want to tell to all teams. Please be patient, and please understand that having a yellow card is not a big problem. In many cases, many strong teams send a person which is more suitable for a particular performance at the cost of getting a yellow card. So please be mindful about the yellow cards. Do not worry too much about the yellow cards if your team obtains one card of any of these three types. And once again, please be informed that these three yellow cards apply in our science fights. Okay. Questions from the jury. The jurors do not intervene in the fight until the very end, so please ask your questions only at the very end of the fight during a special phase. The questions must be clarifying and the questions must be short in case other jurors have questions. We have regulations about the questions that the jurors cannot ask. First, you cannot ask the questions that directly examine textbook knowledge of the teams. You cannot express your opinions before grading, and you cannot direct your question to all three teams at once, or even two teams at once. Let me give you some examples. For example, you're a physicist and you see that one of the teams is presenting data with crazy and excessive precision. They have too many digits in their results, in their measurements. And you make a correct conclusion that probably the team does not understand what is the definition of significant figures, and you want to ask them about the strict definition. But you cannot do it because this is examination. Please formulate your question in a more neutral way without making direct questioning like at an exam. The second example, let's imagine you're a chemist and you see that the team is presenting a test tube with a green solution and they say, okay, the solution is green, which means that this is copper hydroxide. And you understand that this is wrong, and rightfully so, and you want to say, no, you made a mistake, this green solution is not this compound. But you cannot do it because this is a statement. This is an expression of opinions before grading. Please make your statement, but only after you give your grades, not during the questions, but at the end when you will have time to comment on your grades. Finally, you see that the teams discuss something about a particular topic and you want to ask all three teams, tell me something. Tell me, for example, what is myopia? Give me the definition. You cannot do it. This is the question directed towards all three teams. And at the same time, hold a second, I think we have a visitor, but I'm continuing to talk. Okay. You cannot do it because this is not allowed by the regulations. Okay, grading criteria. I have four partial grading criteria, which are called alpha, beta, gamma, and delta. How do you give your grades? You start with so-called baseline, the starting baseline, which is 15 for reporter, 10 for opponent, and 5 for reviewer. And this is something that you would expect from participants with an expected or average level. Then you apply partial criteria and you add or subtract points. And you receive the final grade, which is your grade that you give, your final grade for each of the 3 teams, and it is in the different ranges. The range is 1 through 30 for reporter, 1 through 20 for opponent, and 1 through 10 for reviewer. You can check the criteria for partial grades in the so-called individual jurors protocol. You can download it on the webpage, IYNT.org/St. Petersburg. You can see this criteria on the slide. We expect you to apply these criteria. Please read them carefully, but we do not request that you scan or take a picture of your individual protocol. This is something which is unusual for this IYNT. If you prefer to have this protocol on paper and fill it on paper, please do it. If you prefer to scan it and send it to the organizers, yes, please do it. We will archive your protocol, but this is not mandatory. Because for many jurors, it is difficult to find a printer and to print this protocol and have it at home when they judge the fights. Once again, alpha is a criterion related to the scientific contents of the performance. This is science. For the reported results and methods and parameters and the data and conclusions. For opponent is how well they criticize the report and what critical questions and conclusions they bring. And for reviewer, this is scientific opinions and ability to see details, but also big picture and review the whole stage. Beta is how well the team fulfills their role. As you know, the reporter's role is to present and defend. The opponent's role is to draw all attention to the report and criticize and discuss. And reviewer, the role is to provide a critical summary. Gamma is related to the skills and achievements of the teams to be structured and be clear and have a clear prioritization of topics and issues and be able to deliver a persuasive message. And delta is related to technicalities, minor points, visual aids, speaking skills, and team help. Okay, some data from the past. If we look at the grades delivered at the past IYNTs, here you have data from 7 years and more than 10,000 grades. You will see that the grades for reports, opposition, and reviews cover the whole available range, but these distributions are shifted to the right as compared to our guidelines. And as you see, when you give a grade, it is very likely that your grade will be not the same as the grades given by other jurors. This is okay. This is why we have not 1, not 2, not 3 jurors, but more than 5 jurors in each group. And this is why we have the special procedures for calculating so-called average point P based on several grades from several jurors. And I will not go into too much details, but being a winner in the IYNT in one fight, which means that you have the criterion of victory of 1, is a 2 sigma statistical event. And being a runner-up, having the criterion of victory equal to 0.5, is a 4 sigma statistical event. And if you like to have more information about statistics and grading, please visit our webpage, IYNT.org/grading. Some hints for inexperienced jurors. Do not hesitate to put grades in a very broad spectrum, but do not put the highest or the lowest grades for the first report that you see in your life at the IYNT. If the report or performance is obviously weaker and you see it, please put much lower grades. Please stay balanced. An average report the grade of 15, an average opposition deserves the grade of 10, and an average review deserves the grade of 5. We see from the data from the past that you are likely to tend overestimating any performance by approximately 2 points. Yes, it is completely okay grades differ from other grades, from other jurors, but please justify your grades clearly. Please work on a consistent scale. If you were very low or very high in your grades at the first fight, please do not change your scale in the second or third fight. Finally, we have a lot of supporting information at the webpage, so if you want to know more, please look there for additional information. And finally, at the end of the day, you are a juror, and the IYNT rely on your expert opinion. So we value your expert opinion, and we hope that you will be fair and consistent, and that you will be able to justify your opinion in front of other jurors and in front of the teams. Okay, something concerning the procedure of giving grades now in this online tournament in Discord. First, the chair will ask everyone to decide on the grades, and then you will send the grades in a direct message to the chair. Personally, to the chair in a direct message. You just type reporter such and such points, opponents such and such points, reviewer such and such points. Then the chair will record the grades in the protocol, and then the chair will announce all grades publicly. It is not mandatory to fill and scan an individual protocol for each juror, but the science fight protocol is mandatory and is very important, and the chairs will be responsible for it. They will check it, they will sign it, they will scan it or take a picture, and they will send it to the scoring commission by dropping it to the text channel, which you can also find here in Discord. Chairs, they are very responsible in any IYNT, and this IYNT is no exception. So first, the chairs are responsible for the science fights in each group. They are responsible for everything. They ensure that the regulations are respected. They announce ordering and they explain procedures. They keep time limits rigorously. They carry out the captain's contest and they announce each winner. They collect the choices of problems for semifinals and finals. They ask the jurors to justify extreme grades. They check that all jurors have submitted their grades in written, in direct messages. This is something that we also have in the regulations, but with a twist. In the regulations, we request that the chairs check that the grades are written on paper. Now we ask that jurors check that the grades are written in Discord as a message. And finally, they check the protocols very carefully and they deliver it to the scoring commission. The chairs are experienced in this IYNT, and they know that in some cases in the past, we had various problems in the science fights, such as, for example, jurors wishing to revise a grade from the previous stage, or jurors wishing to leave in the middle of science fight, or teams not submitting preferences for semifinals, and so on. We have various examples, and we trust that our chairs will be attentive and that will make sure that all such problematic situations are immediately discovered and neutralized. So I thank all chairs, and I hope that we will have a very smooth fight in each group. Captain's contest is something that we have in the beginning of Science Fight 4 semifinals and finals. The winner will determine the order of performances in the fight, and the winner will not interact with their teams when solving the questions and answering the questions. But this also concerns all other captains. So once again, we'll have a short contest. Someone will win, and that team captain will decide on the order of performances. Fight attendance. In this IYNT, we have the protocols as usual, and we have the clock as usual. The chairpersons in each group will decide how exactly things are arranged. That means if the chairpersons are themselves responsible for the clock and for filling the protocol, or if they will ask the fight attendant provided by the organizers in St. Petersburg to help, or if they ask one of the jurors to help. But once again, the chairs are responsible for the procedures. We have a very demanding and complex IYNT, and therefore we have some of the best chairs in the IYNT, and I'm sure that they will keep in mind all these procedures and act properly and act correspondingly. Solutions and how to upload them. Please check the login and password, username and password that you received from the executive committee, and please go to solutionsiYNT.org. You need to upload all solutions, all oppositions, and all reviews before the closing ceremony, and you have your account to do so. If you don't have your account, please announce it, and you'll receive your account once again. And also, your solutions are archived, and you can check the solutions and create from all previous IYNTs at the webpage if you want to look at the solutions presented by other teams in the past. Okay, something important, something that concerns this online IYNT. First, all jurors must check in before each site. So once again, before we start, before the scoring commission distributes the jurors and tells who works in what group, we need to check who is present. To do so, we ask you to simply type plus in the text channel jury check-in. Please do it before each science fight, and this check-in will close approximately 10 minutes before the fight starts. So please do it on time. Anyone in this online IYNT can encounter connection issues. Bad internet, bad quality of voice, problems with microphone, and so on. So what we should do? We should support each other, and we should understand that things like that are likely and they're not ruled out. And we need to do anything we can in order to achieve our shared goal, which is smooth science fights across all groups. So once again, please be ready to act if you or your team member or someone else in your team encounters connection issues. And what exactly you should do? You should communicate actively using all available channels of communication. Please talk. Please display your slides using screen sharing. Please test connection in advance. If you discover that no one hears you, start typing. If you discover that no one sees your slides, drop screenshots or files in the text channel. Type everything. Type the name of the student who is now presenting so that the name is recorded faster in the protocol. The whole team supports the presenting participants. You can type messages, you can explain something in the text channel, similarly to the normal IYNT. Technical support from the team is very much allowed and is encouraged. And also the chairs will ensure fair conditions, yet no delays for all participants, which means jurors will explain and they will help you and they will give extra time if really needed, but they will make sure that our fight does not last for 4 or 5 hours instead of 3 hours, because we need to be quick, especially on Saturday, especially tomorrow. We need to be very quick. Okay, I wish everyone a very successful beginning of the IYNT. Now we will have time for questions, and I hope that these questions can be answered by me directly or by our experienced people from the technical group and by our experienced chairs. So thank you very much once again. I wish everyone a very pleasant science fight, and I hope that this recording will be displayed to you in good quality. So once again, thank you and enjoy the beginning of the IYNT. Thank you.